Murray, Klobuchar, and Schatz. Well, yesterday, Senate Republicans put forward their budget resolution for its first procedural vote, and its contents are astounding. $140 billion for ICE and Border Patrol, $0 to lower costs to the American people. This will be a reconciliation of contrasts, and we are relishing that fight. Republicans want to shell out billions of dollars to Donald Trump's private army without any common sense restraints or reforms. Democrats want to put money in people's pockets by lowering their costs of electricity and of gas and of housing, of health care, of food. The contrast is glaring. Republicans are bending the knee to Donald Trump and Stephen Miller. Democrats are standing up for the American people. Republicans want to keep shutting down TSA, FEMA, CISA, Coast Guard, and other crucial DHS agencies. Democrats want to reopen all the law-abiding agencies in DHS. Forget about being on the same page. Republicans aren't on the same planet as the American people. Republicans want to give $140 billion to ICE and Border Patrol. And these are agencies highly unpopular, unreformed with the American people. Their right wing is driving them over a cliff. Republicans are at each other's throats, tying their party up in knots. Democrats are united, together, fighting hard to lower costs for the American people, which is what the American people want us to do. So this is a reconciliation of contrasts, and it's contrasts we welcome. Senate Democrats will make these contrasts abundantly clear, vote after vote, amendment after amendment, during Vote-A-Rama. Republicans are about to learn the hard way that when they refuse to reduce costs, American families lose, and they lose. Republicans will find they cannot reconcile their deeply partisan, unpopular, and cost policies with the frustration of millions of Americans that millions of Americans feel today. So this will be a reconciliation of reckoning for Senate Republicans. Are they for the $140 billion for ICE and Border Patrol and for no dollars to reduce costs, or will they join Democrats as we propose amendment after amendment, focusing on reducing their costs? This plan is so against what Americans want and shows how out of touch the Republican Party and the Republican Senate is. If the Republicans acquiesce to Trump and Miller rather than stand up for the American people, so be it. If we are going to make them own that decision, own this decision, amendment after amendment, vote after vote. Senator Murray. I'm going to get my papers.
Well, right now, Trump has plunged this country into a war all on his own. Gas prices have surged, healthcare premiums have doubled or tripled or worse, pricing millions out of their coverage. So what are Republicans doing about all that? Nothing. Their urgent top priority this week is shoveling at least $70 billion at ICE and Border Patrol with zero accountability, zero reforms, and zero strings attached. And I don't just mean no new reforms. In using this process, Republicans will leave out all of our long-standing bipartisan accountability measures. So more money for ICE, less accountability. Republican senators are practically lining up to fork over another blank check for Stephen Miller's deranged mass deportation regime, all paid for by the American taxpayer. More money for ICE to violate your civil rights, all while Trump's tariffs drain your wallet and Trump's war jacks up the cost of gas. Instead of helping you fill up your car's tank, Republicans are going to help ICE smash car windows. Let's be clear about what $70 billion and zero reform buys for the American taxpayer. More masked agents bashing in doors without a warrant, more grandmas and veterans hauled off by people who don't even show an ID, more horrifying shootings, and more agents lying through their teeth until the video comes out. Now look, I am for law and order, but handing off a blank check to ICE is the exact opposite of law and order. And here's the thing, it did not have to be this way. Democrats have spent months at the table pushing Republicans to just do the right thing and pass truly basic reforms, things like judicial warrants or use of force standards or take off the masks, show your ID, basic stuff that the American people are demanding. But Republicans in the White House agreed to a handful of reforms themselves until they decided to abandon the negotiations and rejected doing any reform. So don't let anyone tell you their hands are tied. This is a choice. This is a choice that Republicans are making. It's a choice to ignore skyrocketing costs. It is a choice to rubber stamp Trump's war. It is a choice to write Stephen Miller another blank check while working families get stuck with the tab. I think it is pretty stunning that GOP senators are practically telling the American people in no uncertain terms, just a few months before an election, that Republicans don't care about the cost of living, they don't care about lowering prices or making health care more affordable or building more housing or expanding access to child care. Nope. Republicans just want $70 billion for ICE and good luck to everyone who's paying for Trump's tariffs and his war with Iran. Trump started a war. Working families get the bill. And Stephen Miller gets a $70 billion blank check for ICE. It makes no sense. It's a racket, plain and simple, and I will be voting no.
Senator Klobuchar.
Thank you very much, Senator Schumer. So, Minnesota was the center of America's heartbreak, but I hope you also see us as America's center of America's courage and hope. A few weeks ago, it was announced that the Profile and Courage Award by Caroline Kennedy was going not to elected officials, but going to the people of the Twin Cities, not just Minneapolis, the suburbs, St. Paul, Minneapolis. And I told this story to one of my state breakfasts, and there was this little group of middle school kids from St. Paul. And we did photos at the end, and this girl came up to me, a young girl, age 14, and said, "You know what? I figured out," she said, "I won the award. I won the award." That's the spirit that the people of Minnesota showed. So we need a little courage from our Republican colleagues. They are not the Profile and Courage right now. They are well aware that the Republicans are using, and the president is using, this reconciliation process to write themselves yet another blank check for ICE. They know there are serious problems. Why? A number of them joined with us at that judiciary hearing to call for Kristi Noem to leave. They asked just as tough questions, some of them did, as we did. The Hmong elder thrown out of his house in his underwear and Crocs and driven around for an hour before they realize they have the wrong guy. The off-duty police officer stopped at gunpoint in the suburbs. The little kids with little bunny flap ears taken away and sent to Texas. They know all that happened. Republicans also know the havoc that was wrought across the country. So we reached an agreement in this chamber. That was actually the Profile and Courage. 100 senators did it, from Bernie Sanders to Ted Cruz, and said, you know what we'll do? We're going to do something practical for a change. We're going to fund TSA and FEMA and cybersecurity and Coast Guard. But when it comes to ICE and border control, they got a bunch of money. They're bigger now than the FBI, bigger than the Marines. And we're going to continue to negotiate that on reforms or handle it some other way. But instead, Republicans in the House rejected that deal. Not a Profile and Courage. So what are we in the middle of now? Now we're in the middle of hearing they're going to put $70 billion more into ICE. $70 billion more into ICE. What could that buy us? It's kind of extraordinary. At home, if I ask them, do you want to put $70 billion more into ICE, or do you want to fund 200,000 local cops for 3 years? I know what their answer would be, probably 80-90% of them. Do you want to put $70 billion into ICE, or do you want to help people afford their health care premiums with an extension of the tax credits? I know what their answer would be, because you could get 2 years on it. To seniors, do you want to get free dental and vision and hearing through Medicare for a year? Or do you want to fund this? Do you want to get 700,000 new homes built, affordable homes, when the rent's so high and home costs are so high? Or do you want to fund ICE for $70 billion more? Do you want to provide child care for 3.5 million kids in this country? Or do you want to give $70 billion more to ICE? Those are the choices that the American people are facing, and those are the choices we are going to present to them over these next few days. Thank you.
There's a lot going on in the world. Gas is about $4 nationally. Hawaii, it's about $5.50. People can't afford their health care. People can't afford their groceries. And Senator Klobuchar said it exactly right. This is about priorities. This is about giving $70 billion more money to ICE than the United States Marine Corps. More money to ICE than the United States Marine Corps. And so a lot of the next 2 days is going to be about what's in this bill. But actually, I think the most significant thing is what's not in this bill. Regular people can't afford their lives anymore. They can't afford to put food on the table. They can't afford their electricity bill. They can't afford to put gas in the tank. They can't afford their health insurance. And the Republicans get, when you're in the majority in the Senate, you get limited opportunities to use this unusual tool of reconciliation. Once, maybe twice in a year. And so it's pretty significant that using this tool, they have decided to do exactly nothing about the cost of living. Exactly nothing. And to forward fund the most unpopular federal agency in the government for 3 years, to give them $70 billion without reforms, to give them more money than the United States Marine Corps, and to not even pretend anymore to do something about the cost of living. And so, yes, it's about what's in this bill. It's also about what they are ignoring. People across the country, red states, blue states, purple states, Democrats, Republicans, independents, non-voters, young people, old people, everybody is concerned with the cost of living except Senate Republicans.
Thank you. And just one more point I want to make, because we have the vote on the Baldwin resolution for war powers. Every day that Trump prolongs the war, he digs himself deeper and deeper into a hole. Republican senators will have a choice to help him get out of that hole by voting with us. But it's getting worse and worse and worse for Trump as he pursues this war of choice that doesn't have goals, that has made things worse on the Strait of Hormuz, on the militancy of the Iranian leadership every day. And he's digging himself deeper and deeper in a hole until he stops the war. He will have a rough time getting out. He won't be able to. Okay, questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Leader Schumer, the Republicans also left out Pentagon spending for the Iran war in this. They seem to think that Democrats will eventually cut a deal with them at 60 votes to send tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions, to the Pentagon. Are they making a mistake by not doing this on reconciliation?
Look, it's a mistake not to end the war, because Trump is digging himself deeper and deeper into this hole every day. We see more trouble in the Strait of Hormuz. We see an Iranian leadership that is more militant. We see the nuclear materials they have even more hidden. So they're making that's the mistake they're making. That's the mistake they're making. Not by putting in more money to this war of choice that is so unpopular with the American people that Trump's numbers today went down to, I think it was 33%. Lowest they've ever been. Yes, Theo.
How much will Republicans using reconciliation to fund ICE and Border Patrol, how much will that damage the appropriations process in the future? And do you expect Democrats to use reconciliation the same way
Look, the bottom line is that they've tied themselves in a total knot. They can't get things done in regular order. And now they've given us this opportunity to show the contrast between them and us. We believe in the appropriations process. We want to see it go forward. They're helping destroy it. Do you want to add something to that, Patty?
I'd say that's 100% correct. Absolutely. The Republicans who elected their majority leader because they wanted to put the appropriations process on the right track are now destroying it by taking this funding outside the appropriations bill and funding it. They're setting a precedent for the future, and it is going to be extremely difficult in the future for whoever ends up in the minority.
Yes.
A number of Republicans are equating Democrats' opposition to this package as a sort of defund to the police effort. What would be your response to that criticism?
What we want for Border Patrol and ICE is what every police department does. They don't run around wearing masks. They don't knock down doors without a warrant. They don't come in and not tell local law enforcement what they're doing. They are the ones who are being against a good, strong police force that has the support of the American people. Go ahead.
I've not heard one Democrat say defund ICE. What I've heard every single Democrat repeatedly say, when you fund ICE agents, then make sure they have training, make sure they have warrants, make sure they act like law enforcers, and have the ability to have the trust of the American people. That's what we're asking for.
Plain and simple. It's not even. It's obvious, and the American people are on our side. These are common sense reforms that every police department uses, and we want to get these funded with the reforms. We've been fighting for that, and they have voted against it repeatedly, over and over again.
And as the person that leads the cops reauthorization bill, I'd say we'd like to use that money to fund local police officers. $200,000 for 3 years, because so many local police departments across the country need more officers. They don't have the funding. They're not able to retain them with the funding that they have. And that would be the most helpful, whether it's burglaries, whether it's going after rapists, whether it is investigating white-collar crime. They need that resources. So that's the first. And then the second thing is, my colleagues just pointed out here, look at these. We had a whistleblower testify. Some of you may have heard them in a hearing that Senator Durbin did and others. And when you hear that testimony of that whistleblower, they got rid of all the use of force training courses for ICE. As you've heard, a number of them were trained for just 47 days. For certain in Minnesota, and I just can't wait for all these facts to come out, you're going to see that they picked up so many people that were legal. The people were yelling, I'm legal, I'm legal. Here's my driver's license. They threw them in cars. Why? Because they got bounties for it. And then they'd sometimes just drive 4 blocks away and dump them out. So when all of that truth comes out about the Indian-American surgeon that was stopped 3 times on his way to work, and all of the racial profiling that was going on, 2 white guys and a Latino, and they tell the white guys, you can stay here, we'll come in. People in stores that would tell the Somali shoppers, go to the back, and so it's just white people in the front. So that when the ICE people came in, they'd look, and they would just turn around. Those are stories.
Yes.
Approximately how many amendments has offered, and do you know of any fashion to get the support of the Republicans?
2 points. First, we are going to have lots of amendments. All the focus of those amendments is to show the contrast. We are for reducing costs for the American people, whether it's housing, or whether it's health care, or whether it's electric costs, or whether it's groceries, or whether it's child care. And they are funding a rogue police force that is not even popular with the American people. And we're going to keep at it and keep at it and keep at it. And the Republicans, yes, the Republicans feeling the heat from the American people, if they want to represent what the American people, I don't care if it's in a red state, a purple state, or a blue state, should be voting with us. We'll see what happens. Yes, you had your, yep, go ahead. Look, Thune hasn't told us the time agreement yet, but we're ready. Whenever he's there, we are ready with our amendments to show the glaring contrast between the parties in terms of who's for reducing your costs and who's not. Yes.
What abilities that talk about the crack? Are these amendments going to be specific
you will see there'll be a variety of amendments, and we will use them, we will offer them now, and then we'll have another opportunity where we can be even more specific on the real reconciliation bill, not the Senate budget bill. Thank you, everybody.